Time management is a huge part of the job of a DP. You shouldn't let it scare you off of making a decision or doing something how it needs to be done or should be done, but at the same time, you definitely have to be aware of it because you will get fired if you don't manage your time well. My name is Jesse Feldman. I'm a cinematographer. So there's lots of people that make a film. There's everybody from the production department to the art department to hair, makeup, grip, electric, camera, some others that I'm forgetting. A cinematographer or director of photography is a person who's in charge of the look of a film. So we're in charge of the lighting and the camera work. Like, we're not putting things in front of the lens, we're just deciding how to capture it. In high school, I kind of exhausted our still photography program. I went to a really small high school, but it did start me on the path. I went to a summer camp called Quartz Mountain. I got accepted under the film program just because I made a good pitch for myself. I'd never made any films or anything. And that opened my eyes to filmmaking. And that's like when I was like, okay, I want to be a DP, this is it. I got a job as a camera assistant on a music video 6 months after being here. I never should have gotten the job. It was a music video outside of school, but it was made with a lot of school people. And it was shooting on 35, and the DP, Graham Futerfas, who I'm still friends with, he owned his own 35 package. The producers hired me and this other guy to be the camera assistants, and they were as green as I was. And I had never been an assistant. I had PA'd on student films and, you know, been around a little bit, but not really. And so I went to the DP's apartment. So he showed me and the other assistant how to load, how to build the camera. They ended up finding another assistant for the last 2 days of the shoot, but for the first day, I was a focus puller. And so my first time working as an assistant was pulling focus on Steadicam on the beach on 35. That DP, Graham, really helped me out, and he really walked me through it. And he gave me a pretty deep stop at first, which was nice. And he kept like bringing me on little jobs outside of school, and we did a movie together that first summer. That started my work outside of school. So I just kept assisting, and I'd operate whenever I could, or I'd DP whenever I could, thinking if I was in his shoes now and I had somebody like my younger self, I probably would be very concerned. It goes to show you, like, everybody starts out somewhere and everybody starts out sometime, and it is important that we teach others and we mentor others and teach people, because otherwise there's no way to learn it. So I got involved in The Chi originally through my agents, who heard that they needed a DP and floated my name out there, and they watched my work and were interested to meet. So the first interview was a Skype interview, which I had prepared a lookbook for prior, just based on what my approach to the show would be and how I would do it. A lookbook is probably different things to different people, but for me, it's a collection of images that I think are good references for the project, and I'll put it together in a PDF and just talk about it. Like, it's not something I just send people without explaining it. It's something that I just use in an interview process as, you know, here's 5 examples of use of silhouette that I think would be appropriate for this project. Sometimes they're stills from another film or a television show, and sometimes they're paintings. Sometimes it's from a video game. I mean, anything visual that can be a good reference. And Jet Wilkinson, the executive producing director, we just melded immediately in terms of like our creative vision for the show. And then once I was actually hired, we didn't have a lot of time before prep started on this job. So I probably went to Chicago maybe 2 weeks later. Typically, I would have been hired a month earlier and gone to Chicago for 2 or 3 weeks and done some scouting and things, then come back to LA and then gone back for actual pre-production. But in this case, I just went because there wasn't a lot of time left. think we prep for about a month, and in that time, I'm prepping the first couple episodes, the scripts that we do have, and working with the stages, and because it was a show that had existed before, some of the sets were already built. So I'm either making lighting modifications to what's there, or working with what's there. And we're going to see locations that we know are going to be repeat locations throughout the season. I'm hiring my crew, getting the equipment sorted out, getting everything ready to go, which, prep before you start a project is great and just so freeing, and the world is your oyster and you can do anything you want, and then you start shooting and then you realize you can't at all. And then you're trying to prep for the next episodes as you're shooting that episode. Nowadays, at minimum, I'll pick my heads of departments and they will pick the people below them. I mean, it's really important for me to work with good people. If you're the most experienced and skillful person, but you treat other people badly, I'm not gonna hire you. It's just not worth it because you spend too much time with them. I like to have a joking atmosphere on set. Of course, we're there doing the work and it's very fast paced, but you have to have fun. So it's important for me to hire people that mimic that. Either I'm replacing somebody for a day or coming in for a second unit or something like that, I will not generally have that much of a say of the crew. The crew will typically be there and I'll inherit them. Sometimes you're in a situation where you're doing a show that has had prior seasons and producers or whoever want to bring somebody back. And typically I'm offered the choice to bring that person back or not. And I have to kind of read the room and see who the person is to decide if that's okay with me or not. There are definitely political hires that come into play for whatever reason that you have to go with or not, and it's up to you, and you either reap the consequences or reap the rewards, depending. How you're going to light a project starts with the story and how you want the film to look and your approach. It often becomes a lot of logistical things too. What does your stage package look like? What does your location package look like? You work with your gaffer to put a lighting package together. It's a collaborative effort to decide what actual lights to have. Again, that could depend on if the gaffer owns lights and what's available too. You may want to have 60 sky panels across the side of a stage wall, but you're shooting on location somewhere and there's not as many available, so you use something else. Or it's just too expensive to do that way, so you use something else. Or you need them for whatever reason, and so you do that, but you don't do something else because you use the money there. Gear choice is something that can vary how important that is, I think. I don't read a project and think, oh, this is a Red project, or this is an Alexa project. The camera choice for me is often a logistical one. If I need a smaller camera, because I need to be cramming the camera in tiny places all the time, which I do a lot, or if I need a camera that is more sensitive than another camera. Lens choice, I think, is more important than camera choice. Budget is always a concern in this, so you have to weigh your options and your decision based on, how much it's going to cost you. You may want more expensive lenses, so you make other sacrifices in terms of your camera gear. You may want to carry a remote head on the project all the time because it's going to benefit you in these ways, so you make sacrifices in your lenses. It's all a give and take in terms of how you put your camera package together. I don't think I have a choice of lens or a choice of camera or even a choice of filter. It varies project to project. It varies on what you need. So hopefully I'm picking whatever's appropriate for that project. Luckily, I don't have to deal with budgets myself. I'm not given a budget and told, go light this set, you have $5,000 or whatever it is. I'm saying this is what we need, and if that's a problem, I hear back. And if I do hear back, then I have to evaluate, is there a better way to do this or a cheaper way to do this? Or is this the way it needs to be done? So I know I need to help them out and not do something else. If money was no issue, we would spend it all. I mean, it's so easy to spend money when making a film with gear and with everything else, but it's part of our job to not go crazy and to be responsible. So when I read a script, I might have an idea of a way it should be done. whether that's a specific shot or more of a general approach, whether that's a style of lighting or a style of camera work or a specific lens or something. I try to think about why I thought that, then go into what feeling I want to portray and how to get that feeling. And sometimes this is all done in my own head, and sometimes this is done with other people. Usually it's a mix of the two. Obviously, since filmmaking is a collaborative effort, you may have a director or producer or whoever who gives you limits when you start a project, saying this job is all handheld. We're gonna do it like this, or this. And so sometimes you have those things to start your framework, and sometimes you don't, and sometimes it's you who are saying, I think this film should be handheld, or I think this film should be dolly. And our job is to create images that make people feel a certain way, that plays with the story and supports the story. How you get to the end product is a result of a lot of things and a lot of people and a lot of collaboration, hopefully, and often a lot of serendipity and luck and happy accidents. When I'm making decisions, sometimes they're calculated decisions in terms of, I want to light something like this because I feel that says this for this character or for this story point. But more often than not, it's a feel-based thing. And I see the actors block a scene and I think, oh, this is more appropriate. Because the location looks like this or the sun's over there, like, let's do it like this. And hopefully it comes together, along with the collaboration of everybody else, to something in the end that supports a story and feels right. And you know when it doesn't feel right. And unfortunately, often you end up hitting record when it doesn't feel right because there's time restraints. Yeah, it's always a balance of money, time, and quality. The old adage says pick two. You can either have something fast and expensive and good, or you can have something, well, you can break that down. Two of each of those things. So time management is a huge part of the job of a DP. Luckily, it's not only your job, and you have a first AD who is really in charge of that, and you have a director who's also in charge of that, sometimes producers or other people that are going to help you out. I tend to want to be a bit of a chameleon in terms of how that time management is done. Some first ADs want to break it down every 10 minutes of the day and say, this is going to take this long, this is going to take this long, and I can try to adhere to that as much as we can. We all know that sometimes there's a give and take in that, and you know that if you're taking too long to shoot a scene in the morning, it's going to come back to you at the end of the day. So you shouldn't let it scare you off of making a decision or doing something how it needs to be done or should be done, but at the same time, you definitely have to be aware of it because you will get fired if you don't manage your time well. I don't think there's ever been a point where I thought, okay, now I'm good at my job, or now I know how to do this. I think you're constantly learning and like I'm confident in my work and my, shooting what I shoot, but at the same time, 5 years ago, I would have shot something very different than I do now. 5 years prior to that, I would have shot something very different than I do now. Hopefully 5 years from now, I would shoot different than I do now. Yeah, I don't think there's not a time when you just all of a sudden know how to do this and then that's that. I think the most important thing in doing good work or capturing the image that you want to capture is just knowing how to use the tools in front of you and knowing what tools to ask for. Whether that is just a camera and a lens and what is naturally in front of you, that might be it. Or whether it's a lot of gear and a lot of specific things, that might be it. Or whether it is this crew member or that crew member. It's up to you to know what tools you need and then on the day, use what tools you have to make it the best you can. And it's always gonna be a compromise, but that is the job.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. We'd love it if you'd subscribe to our channel so that we can keep bringing you more creative people and their experiences. Thanks again for watching.